for it to die down. Don't let it die down. Don't stop holding them accountable. If Sniperwolf gets away with this, that tells other creators that you can dox and endanger people so long as you make YouTube enough money. It's blatant favoritism and it's disgusting. And for his part, Jax Films has also posted about this situation earlier in the week, writing, YouTube, the best time to remove Sniperwolf from your platform was Friday night when she showed up to our home, filmed and posted a live video of our house to her 5 million plus Instagram followers while my wife and I were inside and dared me to come out. The second best time is now. I've sent video evidence to the appropriate channels and I'm happy to share directly with you. This is a clear example of doxing and a clear violation of your policy stated here. But again, and people can call me a cynic, I think that unless some sort of charges are filed or anything like that, YouTube's not going to do a fucking thing. And that is, and understand this is just my opinion, I don't believe that they enforce their policies evenly. Now, part of that is often logistical. There's just so many fucking channels and so many things are happening. Though here, that's obviously not the case. This is too high profile for that to be like, oh, it got lost in the shuffle. And secondly, it is my belief that if this was not Sniperwolf and this was someone that maybe was more on the outs with YouTube, right? Someone who was not their keynote speaker, then at the very least, I think they would take some sort of action. Also, I will say with this, I've been hit up by people saying, hey, have you asked your YouTube contact about this? There's really no fucking point. I've been handed off so many times at this point, I feel like a problem child. Also, the reasoning there could be anything. It could just be they have other things to work on, but it also could be, as part of this gig, you raise awareness on topics like what we're talking about here, class actions against their parent company. Though personally, whenever I can, I try to assume that there's not like ill intent. So yeah, that's why my opinion on this is a completely fucked up situation around Sniperwolf, but I don't think that YouTube's going to do anything. But I guess also with that, I'll pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts here on the whole situation? And do you think that YouTube should do anything? And if so, what is it? And then this guy had no idea that a simple traffic stop would earn him both internet fame and a legal battle. So this is 19-year-old Taven Galanakis, and he's driving through Iowa when two cops pull him over for having his high beams on, which could blind oncoming cars. So officers Nathan Winters and Christopher Wing, they take him through the normal process. They ask for registration, insurance, all that. They then order him out of the car, and after putting him in their patrol car, Winters drops this bomb on him out of the blue.
How much have you had to drink tonight?
None.
What do you mean none?
I've had nothing to drink.
Okay. Why would your eyes be watery and bloodshot?
So this kid's begging to just take a breathalyzer and go home, but instead, the cops first make him go through a series of field sobriety tests. Stuff like looking into a flashlight, standing on one leg, following the finger with his eyes, and walking along a straight line. During which he blurts out,
"Come on, man, it's too easy."
They then finally give him a breathalyzer, and it shows that he has 0 alcohol in his system. So Galanakis is ready to go home, but then Officer Winters reads him his Miranda rights and accuses him of having smoked marijuana, saying that he did so poorly on the field test that even if it's not alcohol, he may have something else in his system. To which Galanakis responds,
I blew 0, so now you're trying to think I smoke weed. That's what's going on. You can't do that, man. You really can't do that.
Absolutely I can.
Is he allowed to do that?
Yes, he is.
So then they put him in handcuffs, they take him down to the station, they put him through a comprehensive drug evaluation. And that again, showing that he is not intoxicated whatsoever. But very notably, that's just where this story begins, because 2 weeks later, Galanakis posts the body cam footage to YouTube where it racks up 2 million views. And then some months later, he sues the Newton Police Department for a violation of his constitutional rights, false arrest, and negligent supervision and training by the county. But then the cops fire back with their own lawsuit alleging defamation and invasion of privacy. And that reportedly because the teen inserted captions with his own commentary into the viral YouTube video and made statements in similar clips on TikTok and Facebook, with him saying about Officer Winters, the guy is on the slow side of the spectrum and he sounded like a little kid who was role-playing a cop during recess. I'm thinking in my head, no way this guy passed training. Also saying that Wing, quote, sounds like he's faded as hell, and adding that he himself had been, quote, kidnapped then raped by the NPD all night. But then, in 2 separate decisions, the district judge in the cops' lawsuit dismissed nearly all their claims, ruling that the teen's words were mostly non-actionable statements of opinion or rhetorical hyperbole. But still, the judge left open claims of defamation and invasion of privacy relating to a false statement that Winters had been convicted of domestic abuse, with captions saying that the officer, quote, beat the shit out of his girlfriend, though the lawsuit states that while Winters had a protective order filed against him, he hasn't technically been charged or convicted of domestic abuse. And so now we're just waiting for a trial date if one's forthcoming. And so this is going to be very interesting to see how it plays out in its own right, but it's also kind of amazing when you think about how technology like body cams and social media have really changed how all this works. Right, a couple of decades ago, this would have just been some he said, she said thing. But now every single thing that happens can turn into a giant mess with a public audience of millions. And that's then in addition to the claims, the counterclaims, all the lawsuits. While we wait to see what comes next, I'd love to know your thoughts here. And then, how much is 36 years of your life worth to you? And I don't mean it in the sense of like you have a certain job, like just all of the hours and all of your days for all of those years. And so for me, my answer is I don't think there's any amount of money. That's like my life on this planet is already so limited. But for these 3 men who were wrongfully convicted for 36 years, they find themselves on the opposite end of that question. So they've already already lost all of that time, and a giant pile of cash is the only justice they're likely to get. Or you've got Alfred Chestnut, Ransom Watkins, and Andrew Stewart, who were all 16 years old back when this happened in 1983. They skipped school one day and they visited their old middle school in Baltimore, Harlem Park Junior High. And after walking around and chatting with former teachers, security kicked them out and locked the doors, according to evidence later presented at trial. But half an hour later, somebody else inside the school shot a 14-year-old boy and stole his jacket, for which the trio were blamed. This, even though witnesses told police they had seen Michael Willis, the actual shooter, running from the school, discarding a handgun and wearing the same jacket. Plus, witnesses even failed to identify any of the three suspects in the photo lineups. But still, the police charged these three, who were juveniles, as adults, and the lead prosecutor told the defense that there was no evidence exonerating them, and they got life sentences. But now, after 36 years, a review of their case, which became known as the Harlem Three, cleared them of any wrongdoing, and they were set free. With all of that bringing us to yesterday, when the Baltimore City Board of Estimates voted to award the men $48 million, which reportedly made this the highest payout ever dispensed in Maryland, and one of the largest multi-plaintiff settlements in U.S. history. And it comes after the men already received $3 million from the state in 2020 under a compensation plan created for cases like theirs. And while there's part of me that's obviously happy that these men got something, right, tens of millions of dollars split three ways isn't nothing. These three human beings that one day they were 16 years old, then without doing anything, they were put in a box for 36 years, and now they're 52. And then actors are now nearing 100 days on strike, and some of the biggest names in the business are trying to get the ball rolling again, with reports coming out that A-listers like George Clooney, Scarlett Johansson, Tyler Perry, Ben Affleck, and Emma Stone held a meeting with SAG leadership this week. It apparently took place over Zoom, and according to Variety, the tone was supportive, but it wasn't all fun and games. The actors apparently expressed frustrations that negotiations had broken down and said that they want a path forward so the strike can end. And this morning, we actually got an update that some major actors are willing to put their money where their mouths are, with Deadline reporting that some of Hollywood's biggest names are willing to kick in $150 million in dues over 3 years to help get the strike in the rear view. And so basically, the proposal would eliminate caps on membership dues so that the top earners can pay more, and then that money can be used to improve health benefits and other things that are on the table for SAG right now. The stars are also reportedly coming up with a new residual formula that would prioritize working and struggling actors over the big names who already have cash. And with that, George Clooney giving a statement to Deadline saying, "A lot of the top earners want to be part of the solution. We think it's fair for us to pay more into the union. We also are suggesting a bottom-up residual structure, meaning that the top of the call sheet would be the last to collect residuals, not the first. And adding, these negotiations will be ongoing, but we wanted to show that we're all in this together and find ways to help close the gap on actors getting paid." Now, also with this, Deadline didn't say how many actors or exactly who else would be contributing, nor did they say SAG's thoughts on all of it. Though some headlines have come out saying the plan wasn't received too well, but there's also not many details there. But it will be interesting to see if anything comes from this offer, or if the pressure that we're seeing from celebrities puts an end to the strike. Though obviously it needs to be remembered, they can't solve every problem. A lot of this has to come from the studios. But still, this is very big and very interesting. And then I'd like to take the time to thank the sponsor of today's show, and the reason I may have been slightly late to a few meetings lately, Dungeon Hunter 6. This is the long-awaited new entry in the acclaimed Dungeon Hunter series, and the wait was definitely worth it. It's completely free to play, so download it now with a link down below or scan the QR code on screen. I gotta say, I've been loving the gameplay. In Dungeon Hunter 6, defeating a boss is just the start, where you can summon up to 3 of them to your squad during battle to give you a big edge. In the late game, you can even shapeshift into a boss to unlock ultimate power. It's actually pretty awesome, and there's over 100 unique bosses to choose from. Also, Dungeon Hunter 6 has some of the best graphics I've ever seen in a mobile game. The new 3D graphics are stunning, it runs so smooth. There's also tons more to do too, from leveling up your skill tree to teaming up to fight other guilds. So download Dungeon Hunter 6 with my link below, or scan the QR code if you're viewing on a PC. You'll get a special starter pack worth $50, including a special secret rare, Demonic Wolf. And starting October 15th, you can enter the Lucky Spin event to win an iPhone 15 Pro Max, PS5, and more. And check the description for more details. And then, both Republicans and Democrats now support using violence against the opposing party. That is what was just revealed in a new poll by the University of Virginia Center for Politics. And understand, I'm not talking about like small minorities here. And very interestingly, the percentage of Democrats was actually higher than Republicans. So only just so, right? 41% of Biden supporters say they believe that people who support the Republican Party and its ideologies have become, quote, so extreme in what they want that it is acceptable to use violence to stop them from achieving their goals. Meanwhile, 38% of Trump supporters said they believe the same for the Democratic Party. Or to put it in other words, around 4 in every 10 people think it's okay to use violence against the opposing political party. So, you know, just a fun little fact as we head into the 2024 election cycle. And then pro-Trump lawyer Sidney Powell, right, the release the Kraken lady, widely known for spreading the former president's false election claims, has now pleaded guilty to conspiring to interfere in Georgia's election. And this is absolutely massive because, as Axios explains, she is the first of Trump's inner circle to enter a guilty plea and admit to crimes in connection with subverting 2020 election results. Right, and a very key thing is that this move by Powell comes as part of a plea deal that she reached just one day before jury selection in her criminal trial was set to begin. And remember, she's not alone here, right? We talked about it before. Powell was charged in the sweeping Georgia case earlier this year alongside Trump and many other main players in his attempts to subvert the election, with Powell specifically in the indictment being hit with 7 different charges, 6 of which involved conspiracies to interfere with the Georgia election, including 2 counts of conspiracy to commit election fraud, and the 7th was a violation of Georgia's racketeering law, with Powell specifically accused of conspiring with others to illegally access election data in Georgia's rural Coffee County without authorization. And prosecutors alleging that Powell herself entered into a contract with the forensics firm Sullivan Strickler to send a team to Coffee County to tamper with electronic ballot markers and tabulating machines and take information from election systems. Right, and Powell initially pleaded not guilty to the charges, with her lawyer repeatedly arguing in court that she had nothing to do with the Coffee County breach.